Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I got a bunch of stuff to talk about here today. I haven't really done any talking videos in a couple months, I realize. I've just been, occasionally posting something short form, quick and easy, because it's been, in general, it's easier to cherry pick that sweet moment where something really cool happens and then show that instead of, hoping for something cool in a longer format vid and then nothing happens. Which I realize some of you guys kind of like that, the genuine approach that my channel has when I go and do a longer format video. It's all one take, it's unscripted, it's what happens on screen happens. You guys get to see my more genuine playstyle as I try to make it semi entertaining for y'all. Live commentary gameplay is hard to find in the War Thunder community, and I mean genuinely live commentary where uh, it's like they're talking as it's actually happening, as they're mid fight. I noticed a lot of War Thunder YouTubers that do a quote quote live commentary style. They like you can tell it's after the fact, especially with the way they phrase certain things mid fight and certain moments where they should have definitely had a bit more of a reaction instead of just continuing with their sentence. You know, when you have those moments and you just go, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? It's like a genuine reaction like that. While you're mid sentence, but they don't do that. I kind of do. I, I curse sometimes. I have a fun time. I try my best to talk about what's happening and what my plan is going into the fight and so on and so on. I try to break it down for you guys. Uh, I would like to take this second here to say that my next longer format video will be on the Mirage 2000 CS5. Not because the most recent video I posted did so well, although I'll admit that is a surprisingly well. That's done amazing actually. It's the first video I've posted that passed 300 views in nearly a year. I think almost a year exactly, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's difficult as a smaller YouTuber, and I don't have the equipment people uh, usually use to do better in this field. I don't have a computer. I don't have professional recording equipment. I'm not very tech savvy, so I don't know how to do like in-game capture and then put that on my channel with post-recorded audio, etc., etc. Because it's just like I don't know how any of that works. I'm very basic that way. But I would like to take a second, real quick, to ask my audience, and I know it's taken me 3 minutes and 25 seconds to do this. 3.5 minutes, might as well say. But I'm curious, would any of you guys like to see me do model train reviews? Just like quick little reviews of stuff that I've picked up and, talk about the reason that I have and what like why I'm into that stuff. I realize I don't do a lot of IRL content, and when I do, I'm not talking. Well, usually not talking. Most of the IRL stuff on my channel is no talking, just sort of the noise of what's happening right then. Going all the way back to my first ever video on the channel, I wasn't saying a word. I was just recording the clouds and the music in the car. And you might hear my dad say something as he asks, like, what am I doing towards the end? But it was so beautiful that day. I just had to. And I decided to make that my first video because it's pure. It's a genuine moment of wow, that is gorgeous, and the music is perfect, and it's just so big and present and right there, and it was emotional for me because I was just getting home after a long trip to visit family out of the state, and I realize I'm dragging that on a bit, but you know what I mean. I have 6 locomotives right now, and they're all from a model railroading company that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, but maybe not too many here in the United States. They're called Hornby. They're United Kingdom based model railroad company. They make primarily 00 scale or 176th scale locomotives. Decent size. I have 2 gold plated models from this brand. And they are very beautiful. I'm going to admit that right now. Oh my god, they are gorgeous to look at. They are also a full die-cast body, and they're a die-cast chassis, and they're very heavy. Very, very heavy. The locomotive alone weighs like over 2 pounds, but I'll save that for if I decide to actually go ahead with one of those. I'm curious if any of you guys would actually like to see that, because I don't know. I really like them, and I was figuring, it's possible to have 2 types of content on the same channel, as inadvisable as that may be. I understand that most of you guys are here because of my War Thunder content, and I won't deny that I love doing that. That's the reason why my next long form video is going to be War Thunder. Sorry for my coughing and whatever. It's just that I figured, since I've always been sort of a miscellaneous channel, even when it came to gaming, I did War Thunder, I did Overwatch, I did Rainbow Six Siege, I Forza content, as you guys have seen. I do a lot of different games. I never really particularly stuck to any one specifically, except for Forza and War Thunder, because that's what's worked. And I actually like doing videos on that stuff because there's a lot, I mean a lot, of interesting history you could talk about in those 2 franchises, involving the cars in the games or the vehicles in War Thunder, where each one has its own wartime history or post-war history, or everything. You just sort of get a progression of humanity out of those 2 things. It's like all the political reasoning and whatnot from each thing, and the engineering that went into developing this supercharger for this engine, and developing this engine for this thing that wound up being used in this thing and this thing, and it all links into each other in very weird ways. It's like you can get a backdrop of humanity in the history of each of these items. At least in the past 100 years, to a degree, right? So that's my questions. If you guys want to see the model train stuff, I have a lot of interesting locomotives, primarily from a specific railroad and by a specific engineer that I revere greatly in the field that he worked in. But besides all that, I would like to say that I am going to be doing a return to the Let's Fly Away series pretty soon, or I might just rebrand it as Delta Warriors, something like that. Where I go specifically down the line of Delta winged vehicles from all the nations in War Thunder, except probably China, because most of what China has is copy paste from Russia, and if I'm going to go down the Russian tree, I don't feel like going up the Chinese tech tree just to review the same vehicle. I'm gonna be honest. I'll probably stick around 1 or 2 that it's like as much individuality in each vehicle as possible. So that way it's not like it's the same thing, but it's the this country's version. I might do that when it comes to Israel and France, because France's Mirage 3C and Israel's 3CJ are surprisingly different. They're around about the same BR, but the 3C is actually 0.3 higher because it gets magic 1s and not M9Ds. And the Israeli one I would probably do a review on because of, the history behind that particular vehicle, and the 3CJ is the reason the Mirage 3C has guns. It's because the Israeli Air Force specifically requested Dassault Aviation to equip the Mirage platform with twin 30mm cannons because the Israelis treated, even in the jet age, dogfighting in the traditional sense, even with missiles as a thing. They wanted their pilots to be able to get in close and lay lead on target. And they had a very strict training regimen, and you can ask pretty much any retired Israeli pilot you want. I would ask the top scoring jet ace of all time in the world, who is an Israeli man. He flew the Mirage 3CJ. He he transitioned into the Nesher, and then eventually the Kafir. He has flown 3 generations of Delta Wing platform in Israel, and he retired flying the F-16. Very accomplished airman. Very respectable warrior. There's a lot to get into with these vehicles, and that's why we're attracted to them. It's the reason games like War Thunder are popular, is because we as human beings look back at our history and wartime, and we like to dissect, how did this work? What made this better than this? How did these compete with each other? We like to play the what if scenario with a lot of stuff, and War Thunder puts that on steroids because you have vehicles from World War II clashing into early, Cold War and Vietnam and Korea, and you even have some Korean War era vehicles fighting against 1980s stuff, like in Italy. The Sagittario 2 is at 9.3. It can get up tiered and fight an A-10 Warthog. The Sagittario is from the 1950s, and it was a prototype fighter platform for the Italian Air Forces. It lost out, apparently, and now I can't remember if this is factual, it apparently lost out to the Fiat G91, the pre-series, which looks a lot more like a Vietnam-era platform than it does a Korean-era platform. But anyway, long story short, it didn't win its contract. It's a unique prototype vehicle. And then there's the Arietta, which is just the Sagittario with an engine in the tail. That's really cool, if I'm honest. But also, 9.3 has to fight jets with serious 20G, 30G missiles. And like I said, the A-10 Warthog and the Su-25 Frogfoot have all aspect 30G heat seekers that this thing has to fight, and it gets no countermeasures, it has no missiles of its own, it has limited cannon ammo. But one thing the Sagittario does have that is the saving grace is its outrageous maneuverability, because it is tiny and it has a good thrust to weight ratio. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this short video, and maybe I'll get an answer. I would actually like an answer in the comments. Would you guys want to see me do model train stuff? Because I have a very basic oval. I can talk about the locomotive in question and some of the history behind it, some of the engineering choices made in its development process, and how it turned out later in life, and I, get to ramble on about an engineer that I really like, give you guys some history into mechanical engineering in the sense of these things pulled tonnage. They transported people, they transported goods, they were part of the saving graces of wartime traffic in America and in the UK and all around the world. Without these things, wars would not have been won because supplies wouldn't have gotten moved. So, thanks again for watching. It's been Ace. Bye.